So dating can be a ton of fun, and we've all, at least I hope, have had fun dating people and meeting other people. And but part of the experience is also being rejected. And rejection comes in a lot of forms. And for me, I guess the most painful one for me that I got rejected was I guess 4 years ago now, a little, actually, about 4 years ago to the day, almost. I'm not even planning this. It just kind of happened like that. But where there was this girl who I had been interested in for a long time. I had asked her to, let's do something together. Let's go travel together. And she rejected me, not by saying, hey, I don't want to do that, or that doesn't sound interesting to me, or I would go, but not with you type situation. I just never heard back. So essentially I got ghosted. And while that does say more about her than it does me, I felt hurt anyway.
Of course.
I felt rejected. Like the girl that I had been wanting for so many years, who I felt we were so right, who in my mind's eye.
And also you had hung out and spent time with each other and you guys were friends. It wasn't like you just met her.
Exactly. So like there was a sort of build up to this, and the fact that I was rejected hurt. And it hurt really bad for about 10 days to 2 weeks. Now I realize that that's not a long time frame in the scheme of things, but it felt like hell for me. I haven't seen her since, and I guess I'm not sure what it would be like to see her again. But I know that rejection does suck, and the fact that it has still stuck with me, or not that it hurts still per se, but the fact that I can still kind of clearly see or put my mind back into that frame, I guess speaks of just how rejection really does suck. Do you guys have any stories like that, or is it just me?
I mean, I don't have a rejection story, kind of like from a guy rejecting me. A guy's never rejected me, but I feel like it's different for girls. But for me, I think the most painful rejection I've experienced is with myself, and just the story I've been telling myself about why I'm single. Nobody wants me. I'm not enough. And like in itself, that's rejecting yourself. And I think that's an even worse rejection than someone else doing it, because you're doing it to yourself. So it wasn't until like I started to change the narrative of that and started to heal from that rejection that I could move forward. But going back to yours, if she would have answered and said, I would do it, but not with you, do you think it would have hurt more or hurt less?
It would have given me closure.
Okay.
So
you wouldn't have felt rejected if she did respond.
I still would have felt rejected, but I wouldn't have been left with the wondering why.
Those are always, I feel like, the worst, where there's no closure in it. There's no like,
because again, the lead up had positive energy, and it wasn't like just
so it's just
like
like
a 1 month,
you're
2
up
month
here
thing.
and you're down there all of a sudden. Yeah, those do suck. Because it's like a death of like, the potential relationship, but also like the friendship almost too.
Yeah, that's gone too.
That's like, man, it's kind of awkward now. Like, could have just said no. I've had similar stuff like that. I've had a lot of stupid stuff. A lot of them were self-inflicted. One in particular, I guess, was a few years ago. Not a few years ago. This was like maybe like 7 years ago. It was at camp. There was this really pretty girl that showed up. All the guys knew it. Everybody knew she was pretty. However, I felt that out of those guys, just compared to like what I was giving off from her and what she was giving off to me, I felt like there was interest between both of us. However, I wasn't camp staff, so I didn't work at the camp. So I was only there for like a few days of camp meeting. But I don't know. I was also kind of shy at this moment. However, I at least, was able to, kind of talk to her here and there. I think I got her social media, but, tried to talk. And obviously when she's at camp, it's not really a lot of time to like, chit chat over text and,
really?
The signals. No, especially for a counselor, like they're got no life. Yeah. And then the signal's bad too. You gotta be like in certain areas to like even have your phone, get good signal. Too. Yeah. So, I thought about this girl all summer. I was like, man, dude, hopefully no other guy gets at her. And there was no guys there that I was like really concerned. I'm like, ain't nobody there. So, she was fine. And then I go up towards the end of summer with a friend, and it was also Pastor Taylor's last year as the camp director. So this might give some hints as to who the person is. But went up there. We went up there just to say goodbye. And Pastor Taylor, and they had this program called Chapel in the Pines, where you go there and whatever. And so I go there, and I'm like expecting to see the girl and whatever. And then she's sitting in front of me, or she's sitting next to me. And then a guy in front of me grabs her by the hand and swings her right in front of me. And they sit next to each other. So I'm like, what?
So she had a man all along, or?
Well, at least like maybe within the last few weeks, or maybe the last couple weeks. I don't know. But it was weird because the guy was like not even the same age as her. I think it was just like a summer camp fling thing,
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's nothing wrong for her if she's like, doesn't think anything of it. But if the other guy's like totally in love with her,
Sure.
but like I was a little bit like weirded out by it. But I don't know. They like at first she was kind of feeling weird because I didn't think she wanted anybody to know about it. But now I know about it. And so she wasn't acting like they were together. But then eventually when I acted like I didn't care, she started to make it look like she cared. Or she started to make it look like they were actually dating, and then they got really into it, and that sucked. Seeing a girl you like with another guy,
Yeah.
and
Especially
like
because
being
you went
flirty.
up there to say goodbye.
No, to Pastor Taylor, but in the
But the
back
girl,
of my
too.
head, I was gonna be like, yeah, I could see her.
It's
talk
like
to
you
her.
used Taylor
But-
as an excuse.
Yeah, I mean that
As a
that sucked
front.
in the moment. And I actually like that girl, like, because she was just so cute, and like I was hearing good stuff about her and all this, and so
Wow.
yeah, that kind of sucked. But they broke up like right after camp ended, so it wasn't even a thing. I don't even know if you could say they broke up.
Maybe he dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Josue Peralta, here today joined by my sister Abby and my buddy Mike. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
We are
You?
good.
Daylight savings is weird. Throw my
Yeah.
sleep schedule.
Definitely.
Although, here's Benny Hanna. It's good to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while. He's all skinny now.
He's little.
He's a little guy. Let's talk about rejection. And
Oh, Lord.
it sucks, man. It sucks. But we need to talk about it. And how, we like to talk about dating. We like to talk about relationships. But, like a certain character in a certain movie once said, part of the journey is the end. Part of the journey is rejection. And that it comes to all of us in one form or another. It's just part of the experience.
Who said that? The Joker?
No, actually, it's from the trailer to Avengers Endgame. Part of the journey is the end.
Oh, I don't know why my head, even before you said that, my head was going to Thanos. Like, what are some things Thanos said?
No,
Thanos
that's
is
an
from-
Iron Man line. But anyway, the point is that pain is part of the human experience. And
Unfortunately.
it sucks that we have to experience it in a heart pain.
Yeah.
I mean, we almost sometimes wish that the pain would just be physical because then you could cure it. You could, drug it away, if you have enough morphine or whatever.
Go to sleep.
Or, it just heals on its own. But heart pains, tend to linger. And there's not necessarily one thing that can ail them. Or not ail them, but heal them.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, there's a lot of things
but-
that got ail it.
Like going back to Mike's story, rejection comes in many forms. And technology has brought on a new form of rejection, which we didn't see when we were growing up, which was the invention of ghosting, the invention of,
Well, ghosting you can do without a phone. You just like the worst type of ghosting is showing up to the place and then they don't show up. That's the ghosting I have heard about.
Oh,
that I know
really?
about. Oh yeah, when you show up
if
to a
you-
date
Yeah, and they don't show
and then
up.
the girl, that's like actual
That's-
ghosting.
That's terrible.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That
yeah,
is
that's
the
physical.
worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be worse.
What other forms does rejection take?
I think rejection takes the form. When you say form, you mean just like avenues or just like the way people do it or like technology? Like
There's different ways. Like, for example, you can ghost. You can just not distance yourself from them. That's
Ignoring-
A form of
oh,
rejection.
okay, stuff
Ignoring.
like that.
I would
Okay.
say
Ignoring
ignoring
them.
someone, but I think that's covered in ghosting. I feel like ghosting is a
Well,
really big
ghosting-
umbrella.
Well, I specifically tie it to technology because I don't know. Because if you just never run into somebody, you never run into them.
Well, that's not really ghosting
just
so
that.
much. It's just like they ignored you.
How about leaving someone on red? Is that ghosting?
No,
That's exactly what ghosting is.
The way I've seen
I guess you didn't
ghosting
even
is
have to
just
leave it
like
on red because
you show
I
up,
was left on
you
red,
show up to
but
pick up your date. She doesn't come out. That's ghosting.
I don't think that's ghosting. That's
That
just,
is
Or maybe there's
ghosting.
just
Yeah,
different
hell yeah,
types,
it's ghosting.
virtual
I
and
mean, I don't want to
physical.
use the word ghosting because then ghosting means everything, and if it means everything, it means nothing.
That's the ghosting I've heard. That is brutal, though, man. If somebody does to me, like, psh, I'm burning your house down. No, I'm just messing around. Cut that out.
I mean, I think a big
We are
part of
enemies.
rejection, why it hurts so much, it's because of the way we interpret what happened and the results that come of that interpretation that influence the pain that we have.
I think both that and just people are not nice about it either, or they don't like. I mean, like you could potentially get hurt, but I mean, there's ways to go about it where the person can still have a sense of dignity, still have a sense of
And we'll definitely get there.
And so, like, there's like when you go back to types of rejection, one is, and I don't even mind this one, like saying that I'm always busy. Like, doesn't
Yeah, that's a
matter,
good one.
even if I know you're not working and I know you're single.
Yeah, just
And you're
lying.
like on vacation somewhere. Well, maybe you would be busy if you're on vacation, but like I could see you in your house and you're just like, I'm busy. Like that's a form of rejection, right? And they could be busy. You never
that's
know.
true.
But if they're always busy, obviously, if someone likes you, they're gonna make time for you,
That's true.
right?
And
So that's a form of rejection. That one, it takes a little while to catch on to, though. For if you haven't been accustomed to that, though.
yeah.
I
I think the world introduces different methods of like dealing with it too that can be harmful. Whereas, like for example, there are many stories of guys who have been rejected who have turned into women haters. All women are HOESs, and women also turn into all men are garbage, all men are crap, etc., etc. And it's becoming more of a thing now where again rejection has become much more easy to do because
Yes.
again you just either don't never get back to them and like you don't have to actually act on it, whereas if you meet somebody at church, where you meet somebody at work, or like where you actually meet somebody and see them regularly, you have to actually encounter them and take an active part in rejection. Now even neglect is enough to reject someone. So because it's so easy to do, it's much more common.
It's more common, and also since less people know how to manage their emotions, it's even worse. So it's like more rejection, but at the same time, you don't know how to manage it.
And I think some
I
people
think that's
just.
a recipe for chaos.
I think both sides, like people don't know how to reject people. They're scared of like doing it, and I feel like you see that a lot on like the female side. Like rejecting a man can be like kind of intimidating.
Exactly.
I understand that.
And
So
also from a man's side too,
Yes.
yeah, but I feel like you see it more on the female side because
because women are rejecting more than men. That's true.
Well, yeah.
Well,
'Cause men are soliciting more than women.
Yeah, but also just men get angry, like you said, like they start calling females, like you're a hoe, like you're a bad person. They might take it very badly, whereas they maybe even get abusive or whatever the case may be. So I could understand like why that is, but like there's still like I think a lot of people don't know how to do it, and I think that goes a lot to like when you start to approach someone,
Right.
like why are you approaching them in the
mean, I
first
think-
place?
And we'll definitely get to that. Let's not get ahead of
Okay.
ourselves. But another effect of us poorly handling this in society is that it does lead people to numbing that pain through drugs, through alcohol, through pornography, through excessive whatever, as a stand-in to try and numb that pain. So
I think
we
also
have to, as a church, be able to provide avenues to be able to heal properly, not just say, "Oh, get over it, pray about it, you'll be fine."
well, there's one main avenue, but I was gonna say, I think a lot of people, because of like already fear of rejection, maybe they rejected like bad, like had a bad like rejection story earlier in their life, and so now the fear of rejection, they've become like serial daters themselves, and so they use like whether it's sex or whether it's just like casually dating, they just do that and like try not to have any like communicate with people, but don't like try to have like an emotional connection, and so people get hurt that way too.
Essentially, that's the concept of if I don't try, I
'Cause-
didn't lose anything
'cause
because I didn't really try.
Because I've heard of like this thing, and you usually see this like after breakups. But like, like there's this like, people like a girl after she goes through a breakup, she was like, yeah, I'm entering my whole phase.
Yeah.
Or a guy after a rejection. And I've seen my friends go like do this. Like they find out their girl cheats on them, or they have a bad breakup. Then all of a sudden they're just running through whatever girl or whatever dude that they can get their hands on. And
like
they
I
just
said,
go
you
through that
can
and they
either
just
take-
do that.
You can either take the approach of, well, I'm never going to try again, or you can take the approach of the nuclear option. If I get hurt, everyone's getting hurt.
Yep.
And
I've literally heard somebody say that.
Yeah, that's not good. So how I want to approach this is in 3 parts. First of all, how do we handling rejection? Number 2, how do I guess reject in an ethical way? And again, number 3, how to move on and how to overcome that.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Hopefully I give some good advice.
Let's start specifically with why rejection hurts so much.
Okay.
I think, again, it's one tangible way of someone telling you you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted me, and because you thought I had value that I could bring to your life, et cetera, but you're not good enough. You're like you're deficient. Something about you is not attractive to the one that you're attracted to. Something about you is off. And then when you internalize that, you're like, dang, like, am I really not worthy of love right now? Am I like, what about me is off that she wouldn't want me?
Yeah.
Or that he wouldn't want me? And then if it's not clearly said or put by the person, then again, you have to do that examination yourself. And you begin to like just look into crevices in your soul and into who you are that you have no business going into necessarily, because again, you're searching a red herring where you're saying, well, maybe it's just my hair, or if I would have just changed this, then that would have happened. And again, that is an endless pursuit of just examining yourself, where I feel like we can go overboard and again start blaming ourselves.
There's actually like a study, like, well, they like, if you just look at it like scientifically, or however you say, like biologically, like some people just aren't gonna like you. Doesn't even matter how good looking you are. Like you could be one of the best good looking person in the world, right?
It's true.
You could be like Brad Pitt. But not every woman thinks Brad Pitt. I've heard many women think Brad Pitt is like not a good looking dude,
As
even
Brenna
though
says
most people
that
will tell you that he
Gosling
is.
not attractive to her.
Ryan Gosling is an attractive.
I don't even find really that attractive. I don't see what the big deal is, but
No.
a lot of females think he's attractive, and so like just like on a biological level, just the way our bodies are and what we've like how we view like attraction, or personalities, whether it's physical or just like emotionally attractive or whatever it is. Some people just aren't going to be attracted to you.
Yeah.
So I think like we have to like understand that first, and then when you understand that, you can
true.
kind of take it not personally.
That you're not for everybody.
Yeah.
There's actually-
Sorry, go ahead.
There's actually a study that was done by this sociologist named Naomi Eisenberger. I think that's how you say it. But anyway, she wanted to know why it is people experience rejection and why it hurts so much. So essentially, she did an experiment with participants virtually, like playing a video game.
Okay.
Where it would be like, let's say 3 of us, and we're all playing catch. And then it would be cool for a little bit. We're all playing catch. And then at a certain point, she would have 2 people annihilate 1. And then they would they were hooked. They would track like what parts of their brain were activated once they felt like they were being left out of this game. And essentially her results showed that the feeling of rejection, it triggered the same neural circuits that process physical injury.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then it translates into the experience we call pain. And that's why the human brain does not distinguish between a broken bone and an aching heart.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I find that interesting because if you go off the study, rejection hurts because it's triggering that part of your brain. So like it's not just in your head, it's not just the interpretation of the event, but it's like it's pain. And a lot of times we don't talk about emotional pain or see it as actual pain. We just see it as, oh, it's just in our head and it will pass. So it's just, you got to remember that it's a part of life, and it's also pain.
It's true. And I was talking to Dad about it today, and I'm getting my car fixed, and he gave me a ride back to my house, and I asked him about it. I'm like, Dad, why does rejection hurt so bad? And he said that it hurts more, especially if you have an abandonment wound.
Did you have a what?
Abandonment wound.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you
People
don't
have
feel
constantly been like away, like just left you in
Yep.
your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
like including your parents or your own siblings, other family members, etc.
You feel like you're just
It hurts
not
like
a good
even
person.
more, and it just like reiterates, and it just adds on, and it makes you even try to rationalize, like, maybe my family is right, maybe they are right in excluding me and not wanting me, and that can again not even be intentional for the person rejecting, for the rejector, let's say, but it hurts even deeper for those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like, I've had a little bit of an abandonment wound in the sense that I wasn't either of my parents' favorites, but I feel like
Middle child syndrome.
yeah, fair enough.
I was middle child, but
That's a good point.
luckily for me, well, I won't say luckily. That's a bad thing. What a bad way to put it. But go ahead.
But I've felt, what do you call it, rejected, not in like an explicit way, like in a dating scene, but before, like before I started doing the internal work, it would hurt a lot more. Like when either somebody at work wouldn't like my idea, or when they wouldn't just follow my lead, like when I clearly know something and they're just like, no, let's do something else, and then I'm always like, I freaking told you guys this, and then it's like, well, if you had just done, what I said at the beginning, or done this or whatever. Yeah, it definitely hurts a lot more. Now, another reason why I feel like rejection hurts so much is not just because you get rejected, but also it hurts a lot in how you get rejected. So there's this meme amongst, men, which is the saying, Mike, what is the worst she can say? The saying is, the worst she can say is no.
No, yeah.
And that is a meme and a funny thing, because it clearly can go a lot worse. Like, women are terrible creatures a lot of times when it comes to rejecting men.
They'd be like,
And
go kill yourself or something like that. I don't know.
it's happened before, for sure. Like, for example, women often, if a guy reaches out to their DMs, will take those DMs and share them in the group chat. So now your rejection is shared amongst a group of women.
I mean, you don't know
who have
that
another group.
unless somebody
Called the
brings
board
it
of
up to
directors.
The board of directors, exactly. But it's happened, and I've seen multiple memes where this guy DMs a girl saying, hey, let's go out, blah, blah, blah. She screenshots it and then says, ew, and instead of sending it to the committee, she sends it to him.
Oh no! So she didn't look before sending.
So she didn't look before sending. So then that's way worse, because now it's like, that she doesn't like you, but she didn't have the balls or the guts to actually tell you to your face. So in other words, not only are they rejecting you, but they've gone the further step of humiliating you, which is way worse than no. So like, the way in which we do it is terrible. Because, Mike was telling me that a certain friend of his took a guy who had sent her such a DM, and she put him on blast on her story. So the humiliation then goes beyond the board of directors. It goes now to the world.
Yeah, that's messed up.
How messed up is that? So
It's petty,
the
for
risk
sure.
is really high, and that's why it really does hurt.
I feel like
I
in that way, guys, the way they reject women, it's usually not by saying anything, but it's more through actions. So it's by doing things that the girl is not gonna like. So essentially doing everything that a guy is not supposed to do, so that the girl decides herself that she no longer wants him. But he's doing it on purpose.
Yes.
So, like,
Isn't that nicer?
in a way, yes, but in a way, no. I mean, I feel like the girl way is maybe a little bit more public, but the guy way it's not honest either. So
Right.
both ways aren't right. But I also feel that the level of hurt that you get from rejection is directly correlated with how invested you were in the person
That's true.
or the thing, because a lot of the times we take things personal. So the more you're invested with them, so the more personal it's going to get.
Yeah.
So we internalize it. And like you were saying, we think that it's us. It's like, why wasn't enough? Where it's like, we got to switch that narrative. Because if we don't, it's going to hurt even more, and then the process takes longer to
And
heal.
this is kind of an extension of what you said. And I want to read a quote from Ellen White. So she was messaged by I don't know how old the girl was, but she was younger. She was,
Yeah.
around our age, about some letters she was sending to some guy. I guess she wanted some clearance on the relationship and where it could go. And this is what Ellen White said. She was like, well, this is just a couple sentences from what she said. She was like, Ellen White was like, your imagination is diseased.
What?
Ouch.
Ellen White, she did not mess around with this tick. She was like, because you have permitted it to run in a forbidden channel. Talking about let's
Castle
continue.
building.
The mind has been allowed to become dreamy. Daydreaming and romantic castle building have unfitted you for usefulness. You have lived in an imaginary world and been an imaginary martyr and an imaginary Christian. I was like, whoa. And then she says here in this last part, she's like, you have been in a sad deception. God would have you investigate closely every thought and purpose of your heart. Deal truly with your own soul. Had your affections been centered upon God as he has required, you would not have passed through the trials you have. So I haven't read the whole thing here, but there's possibly something that happened from this relationship or whatever, this talking period that she was with this guy, and she just wanted some help on
But
it.
from
And
that
Ellen White
is
letting her know you were thinking about this too much. You had, like you said, too much invested. But a lot of times, and what she says, castle building, we think of this person we're already in the relationship, right? And do more. We've all done it, we think about marrying this person, having kids, we just started talking to this person. And so when the rejection comes, it's a lot hard because now all those dreams,
Because you just divorced in your head.
yeah, exactly. And you have to cut off everything, and that makes it hurt.
Go through a divorce in your own head.
Yeah, Is it pretty much. If you've thought about marrying this person, you've thought about sleeping with this person, you living with this person, going on dates all the time, and now all those dreams, those hours spent long dreams, you have to cut them off. Especially if all of a sudden you find them with another person. Then it's a complete shock to the system. Oh yeah, they that's one of the worst ones. Yeah. No, not even cheating. Just they're cool with you. They act like they're interested, and then boom, they make a post or they reveal that they're in a relationship.
And
that one sucks too.
Also, I think that the hurt of rejection can stem even from your childhood. Like you were talking about abandonment wound.
Yes.
But also I feel like it can stem from lack of communication from your parents about telling you why certain thing happened, or
that's true.
Because I think it's been proven by studies that even a baby in the tummy, if they feel something bad happened, they internalize it as their fault. So
that's interesting.
Even kids, little kids, when things happen, bad things happen, and especially not explained, it's automatic that they think it's their fault, that they did something wrong. Wow. That's why I think it's so important from such a young age to explain to children, even when you're mad, I'm mad at you, but it's not because you're a bad person. It's because of this situation. It's we have to start that from a young age. And I know that you have to teach implicit obedience, let's say for little kids, right? Yes. You have to teach that. But I think it's also need to be made more common explaining things, because in the lack of explaining comes a lack of lots of assumptions, lots of internalizing from a childhood. So then it is no wonder that as we get older, we keep doing what we did as we were younger because we weren't taught the right way from the get-go.
Wow. And with such rejection, there's a lot of ways that people deal with it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to ask me how did I deal with the rejection, I don't think I can remember, but I did like slink away from Instagram. I don't think I posted for a while. I
You talking
often
about
don't-
with the story
So
that you told
withdraw.
us?
You withdrew?
Yeah, I withdrew from Instagram for a while. Like I didn't really share anything about me because it did hurt. And I mean, nowadays I don't really post that often anymore, just because I'm too busy to just share, I guess, or maybe or whatever. But I feel like other people tend to slink away or just kind of distance themselves from society in general, because again, if you can't pinpoint what it is about you that is wrong with you, that was rejected, you then start to answer for yourselves, and then you may try to extend that rejection to everybody else or every other woman, and saying, well, I don't even want to see any other women because even if I just say hello, they're going to treat me in such and such way, so I don't want to subject myself to such objection anymore. So let's just slink away and not even talk to them anymore. And people even go as far as to step away from their friends and their families. And the reason they do that is, I feel, because they not all friends and not all family members provide actual comfort.
That's true.
Some family members and some friends may be like, well, duh, bro, like you're not good enough, or like, lock in.
They
like,
confirm your fears.
but yeah, that's true. They confirm your fears. And to be honest, it's just fearful to put yourself out again, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. I think that the way rejection is something we can't control because it's something out of ourselves that happens. So the way most of us, I believe, deal with rejection is by going back to something that we can control and that has made us feel good in the past.
Yes.
Whether it be binge eating, whether it be listening to music, whether it be TV shows, even good stuff like writing or exercise.
That's true.
Anything that has made us feel good and that can take our mind off of
Gym is
something.
your friend.
I have a friend who she exercises so much that the pain takes her mind away from her worries.
Well, exercise just makes you feel better. Like
Exercise is good, but at the same time,
endorphins that releases.
everything in excess is not good for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could even say that that's a version of self-harm, even though it's something that is good for you. So all I'm saying is the way people deal with rejection usually tends to be something that's feel good thing. Like for me, I watch TV shows. I watch crappy TV shows. That's how I know when it's really bad of any type of situation, because
when Abby turns on Love is Blind, it's gotten real bad. Call the doctor.
Yeah, if I ever watch Love is Blind, it's bad. But like I'd be watching a show, and Josh, you know this, I don't like bad shows, like bad writing. It's it's a turn off. But if I would be watching a bad show and I will be literally talking to myself like, this is total ass. But yet
I'm here.
And I keep watching every single episode. And then after I'm done watching this crappy show, I feel even crappier. But at the same time, I didn't think about what was bothering me for 3 hours.
Because we're hating on the show.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of the times I feel the way you deal with rejection is also learned in your childhood too. Like,
that's interesting.
Because like, if you like eat a lot when you're little, especially like when you're stressed, I can see that translating to adulthood.
That's true. It's interesting that you put entertainment on there, because it's not just watching bad shows. I feel it's the excessive watching of certain things. For example, and it's not just TV shows. Like we like scripted things that actually have good writing and deep stories or what have you. But nowadays you can get different levels of entertainment at your fingertips at a finger swipe up. So whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, you can sit down and endlessly scroll for hours and no one will say anything.
No.
You can have like a casino at your fingertips where, I mean, Benny's like barking right now because
I had him hooked up.
I took off the hook because I thought he was going to be chill.
Oh.
But the point is that, that waiting for that dopamine hit is enough of a like low effort. Like, you don't have to sit through a 40-minute episode or a 22-minute episode. You just have to flick with your thumb and you can get something new, something that will quell that pain almost immediate.
I think,
And then it becomes kind of like that button, like if they say press when you have pain, and then you're just constantly like boop 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 boop, you're just constantly pressing it all the time.
But I
So
think-
we're technically overdosing.
but I think,
Right, and then what that does is your brain starts to like a drug, numbing itself to it to where you need more and more of it, and then it gets even worse.
Or
and
you
worse
start
and
going
worse.
into darker and darker content.
themes. Yeah,
What were you saying, Mike?
well, I was going to say, I think the best way to deal with the pain is to accept what happened
Yes.
and go through the grieving process. Because, and you don't have, I guess, you can say grieving process is a bit dramatic for just getting rejected, but I mean, it is a grieving process because something is over now,
course.
right?
It's a loss.
And so you have to accept it. You have to feel those emotions, even though they're going to suck. The thing is, though, the important part is the acceptance part, not to just accept it and try to maybe change the situation. Accept it so you can move on with your life. Accept those
Exactly.
feelings.
And not
Don't try to
live there.
don't try to go for the quick antidote. So because you're not removing the you're not removing the pain. You're just diminishing it,
Patching it up.
patching it up until whatever you were doing before is over. Then you're back where you started.
And
You gotta
I-
accept it, understand what happened, and then
Internalize it.
internalize it, and then slowly you'll come to a better place. That's the best and the quickest and most effective
it's
way.
pretty much the grieving process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And also you deal with it by acknowledging that it comes in waves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's a good
you
point.
you can deal with it now, but an event can happen
And you may see her
that
or him
reminds
again.
you again, and then that wave comes back of that emotion, and it's just riding it.
That's true. And then obviously how the world does it, like I mentioned earlier, drinking and drugs.
And sex.
And sex. That's also a form of a drug. And
Yes.
that's not just exclusive to outside the world. There are Adventist people, young
do
adults who
all that.
partake in that. And again, it's not unnatural to feel that way, but we, I guess, wouldn't want to stay there, right?
Why would you not
would
want
wanna
to stay there? though?
steer towards more healthier ways of coping, right? I mean, I'll give you
And
the example
I asked this-
of why not, and it's the movie. And I recommend if you're of age, if you're mature and you're probably alone, and
Why
you're
alone?
willing to, because it is a disturbing film,
Why are you watching disturbing movies?
or watch it with a friend who loves you very much. I guess it's called Requiem of a Dream. In Requiem of a Dream is a story of what happens when obsession and when an addiction goes too far. It is this 3 different stories, and I'm not going to go into it because this podcast would be too long. But the point is that if you have time, watch it. And it's just the destructive nature of addiction, the destructive nature of an obsession, and the destructive nature.
But some
of just
people will tell you, because I've had these
mindless
conversations.
things. Because one of the addictions was sex. In the
Well, that's what I'm
movie.
saying. What makes sex a bad coping mechanism? Because a lot of people outside the church will tell you that it's not. It's something completely natural. I've had this conversation with people. It's something that you should enjoy and use. Why is for Christians not the way to go? Other than the
because
fact that God
sex-
said not to.
Well,
But,
I mean,
what?
sex is not a bad thing in and of itself, right?
Of
It's
course,
something
right.
that God created. I would go back to the intention of if you're using sex to escape, if you're just seeing it as a body to help me forget, to not think of something, that's
It's about
when
you now.
that's when it becomes bad.
What if
like
the
a
other
bad
person you're
coping
doing it
system.
with is
Okay
okay
with
with that?
That's
It's not about
it doesn't
them.
it doesn't make your coping mechanism any better,
Right.
Because it's not about them; it's about your intention.
It's like saying, well, what if a drug dealer is willing to sell you drugs? Then it's fine. No.
And as Christians, apart from the fact that God says not to do it, you don't do that.
We have to understand why God tells us. Some things we gotta just accept because God tells us. But I think
course.
God, He wants us to see also the reasoning behind it.
To not stay stuck here. So let's kind of zoom past this. But
And that's why we have a whole episode on that.
Yeah. So, but just briefly.
Well, let's
number
go back
one,
to rejection.
there's a soul tie that comes with sex. Sex is not a free transaction where you just, move as like a slot machine and then you get a feeling. There's a soul tie and there's there's an exchange. Number two, it implicates other people innocently to where, you're bringing them into your pain. And that's something that you share in that connection. Number three, then sex becomes a selfish endeavor, where sex should be a selfless endeavor, where we're supposed to be giving pleasure to our partner. Then it becomes just about me getting pleasure. And when it comes just about me getting pleasure, then we've lost the plot.
You lost the essence, and you're distorting God's nature because
exactly
the
right.
sex was created as a metaphor.
But
I was saying, but these, I know there's we have a whole episode on that, but I'm just like in terms of trying to like overcome the feelings of rejection and stuff like that. Why that's bad to do that.
Yeah.
So
does the Bible say anything to do that there's anything? Like has to do with heartbreak or dealing with loss? Because it is a sort of loss.
Oh, the big time.
I mean, there's a whole book of Job, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of loss in the Bible.
Yeah.
But 3 specific verses that I found, one of them was John 15:8. It's, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. So it shows that, like, God's saying we're not alone. Like, if someone's rejecting you, if someone hates you, like, I've been through that, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
So then in Psalms 27:10, it says, even if my father and my mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. So it goes to show abandonment, rejection. Like, we got God. He's never going to abandon us. And then Psalm 34:17-20, it says, when his people pray for help, he listens and rescues them for their troubles. The Lord is there to rescue all who are discouraged and have given up hope. The Lord's people may suffer a lot, but he will always bring them safely through. So I like these 3 because it's stating over and over again that God is always there in our darkest moments. And when we feel rejected, when we feel abandoned, he is always going to safely bring us through it.
Amen.
And that's the way that he wants us to deal with rejection, coming to him so that he can help us through that grieving process, like you were saying, Michael.
Yeah, well, you took my verse, but anyway, the Bible's full of verses about healing the brokenhearted. Psalms 147 is verse 3. It talks about the brokenhearted. It says, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And I think that's really nice because God understands, like, heartbreak causes it's real, but it causes wounds, like, and I think that's something, when God says wound, I don't think he's like really symbolically saying something. Like, it's a legit thing that needs to be healed, even though if it's like something you can't see. But it's like, the wounds that you can't see are often like the worst ones, right? And so he's saying that, he's the one that can heal it. No one else can like do that for you. Not another relationship, not, money, not sex, not drugs. Only God. God is the only one who can like restore you, back to a better place. Like, you can't get it from anyone else. So, he's saying like, come to me. I can do that for you. And that, I think that's how he created us, right? Like, he created us to be with him and to have purpose with him. So,
okay. And that reminds me, Mike, of this guy on Instagram. He's like a life coach or whatever. And he talks about that scientifically they've proven, or they showed, that a person needs about 8 minutes to sit in their grief in order before, like, full 8 minutes before they can move on. And they need someone there to hold that space. And that is really hard to do, just to sit with someone and hold that space, not give them advice, not like just be there. And I think that's why God is the perfect consoler. Is that a word?
Yes.
Because he can literally sit with us there. And
I've had moments
and find you someone who can.
Well, that's the thing, God, and I always tell people, like, God is like the only person who clearly, truly knows what you're going through. First of all, he's seen everything that's happened, right? He's heard everything. He knows what, is going on. He knows things that are going on that you don't know, right? And so, like, I've had experiences, with God where I just literally, if I'm feeling down about something, I'm brokenhearted, I just literally pour my heart out. I go in my room, I get on my knees. I don't even close my eyes. I just act like I'm talking to him. And that is so therapeutic.
Of course.
And I don't even like saying that word because it makes it seem like it's just like a mechanism, but it's like a real thing you can do. Like talking to someone. If you could talk to someone who understands everything and who you also know has the best solution to fix the problem and like has the power to do it.
Yeah.
Like that is such like a nice feeling to have. And so anyone listening out there, like if you're brokenhearted or, you're feeling down about something, just go to God and talk about it. Just open up to him like he's right there. And he is right there. Just let it all out.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Let's transition from that to like what it's like to reject, right? And that's a difficult thing because you have to actively kill someone's dreams or someone's desires or something like that. And part of that involves how do you relate to that person after. So if we just start from the perspective of the rejected, for example, it's weird, right? Because I mentioned that with her, I haven't seen her since. And so even I, who haven't seen her since, even I'm a little bit worried that, or how I'm going to feel or how I'm going to react. Not externally, but just internally. Like, are my palms going to start sweating or just, I guess like that. Also, going to like friendships change. So when you're the rejected, and we're going to talk about the rejector here in a second, like you have to understand and know that, okay, when I reject someone, this is going to change everything. Like, why did you come and tell me you like me? Like, now we lose our friendship. Like, now everything is lost or things like that. But I feel like friendships have to change. A blip. Don't you think? Do you feel like friendships have to change, period?
No, I don't feel like they have to change.
They will, though. So? There will be a period of for that person where they're probably not going to want to hang around.
I think there'll be a period of awkwardness, but if you're open and you have good communication, I think you can get through the speed bump quicker rather than slower. But if you don't communicate, or if the feelings are running really high, like
I think
if the person was really into you, and then you say no and you were good friends, and then it might be a bigger break because the other person was really into you, so they might need quote unquote time away from you. I think when relating to other people who have rejected us,
yes,
I think we have to always treat them with respect and with courtesy. I think a lot of the times when we're hurt, we forget that other people have feelings and we're hurt, so we're going to try to hurt this other person. But it's acknowledging also that the other person had a right to reject you, right? Because they have a choice.
Absolutely.
So we have to respect their choice. And it might hurt, and we're going to process that in and of ourselves. But we still need to be respectful and courteous when we see them.
You should always thank them, too.
Yes.
That they think of you in such a way that they're attracted to you. Because, I mean, this doesn't happen. Not everybody's going to, think that. I mean, you're always going to think about that. That should make you feel good. Like, wow.
That's
and that's a process of reframing, right? Because
it first of all, it gives the person dignity. And it also just, it lets you tell them that you appreciated it. Yeah. Right. So it's not like you're not just like laying the whole thing down. Like you acknowledge that what they did. You thank them for the compliment. You appreciate it. I would give them like a big thanks, man. Hey, man, appreciate that. But
and it's no,
I mean just like to the girl,
And it's more of like I would do it like thank you, like you set me free. It's like I'm not hung up on you anymore. I don't have any what ifs. Now I know you don't want me. Now I can
still sucks though.
Go, yeah, it's still gonna suck, but at least I am free to continue my search.
Right.
Even though it sucks. But when we can't distance ourselves from someone who's rejected us, that's a good time to start practicing boundaries. Like, for example, if we're friends, like, for example, we all do this podcast and then drama goes down. here, right? And let's say we have to continue the podcast and continue to work together. We have to find a way to be cordial and, do what we got to do to keep going, and just like have certain boundaries.
Period. Mm-hmm. And what are let's just kind of lay the groundwork, some ways that people get rejected. So I mentioned ghosting. Mm-hmm. Abby mentioned distancing in real life. What else?
I mentioned, they're always busy. Never making time for you.
Never making time for you.
There's the silent treatment, taking too long to respond, avoiding. The way they
True.
respond.
Oh, yeah, avoiding, yeah.
Like very short answers. They change.
Like take the hint.
Or they don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, even saying that pisses me off right now.
Yeah. It's disrespectful.
It is disrespectful.
No, I mean, but I always try to look at it from their perspective. Like,
it's cowardice. Like, you don't have the
well,
guts
like if they're not asking you
to
out
be-
like on a date, like if you know a guy or a girl's interested in you and they want to hang out, like, hey, let's go out. Like, like they like you. Like how
Well, then
you
it's
can't,
on
but
you
you
for
can't
not
say
being
like, hey,
honest.
I don't like you.
You can say that.
Not if they never tell you that you like them, you don't say that you don't like them.
Well, you ask your intentions. Hey, what are your intentions here?
You don't even have to ask that. What if they just, because they'll be like, hey, I just want to hang out.
Yeah, but
Then you
you
can say no.
literally just said if you know someone is asking you out, they
And
probably
No,
like
you.
you.
but you know in your head that they like you. Like they're giving you all the signs.
Even though they haven't said it verbatim,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
can
And
show
when
you
you
that-
ask them and
you
they
can
say,
show someone.
So you can still say verbatim whatever you want to say. Cause
No, well, I think that's rude. Like if they don't say explicitly like, "Hey, I like you and I want to like take this further," don't like just try to catch them before they say that. I feel like that would
okay,
be
so
rude.
you can find a nicer way to say it.
Well, no, you were just saying because you were saying like when the person says, "I don't know," like I was saying like, well, I could see from their perspective if the person hasn't let them know that they like them, but they still want to hang out all the time. They're showing the signs that they like you, like. How do you reject someone
well,
that way?
maybe that person's just not being honest, which is the clear case. If they're giving so many,
I don't know.
signs.
They're probably just afraid of rejection. That's real. Or they just want to like be comfortable or have like clear signs that they actually do like you. And I think you don't always have to like just go straight to like the "I like you" thing like right away. Like there's ways to know someone likes you without saying it.
Yeah.
Although, if you're a guy,
Because I'm not gonna tell a
I
girl-
wouldn't take that pursuit. I wouldn't take that approach of just putting things in place so that she knows that she likes me. That's not taking.
No, like you
leadership.
just no. I mean, like hey, let's go out. You don't just tell the girl like before we go out that I like you, right?
Some guys. It all depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Before you go out, I don't know. I
Yes.
feel like
To set this like
There's different ways of asking someone out.
yeah.
I guess, but I don't know. I feel like when I mean like saying that I like you, I mean like like just putting like the romantic like I like you, before. I feel like you go out, you hang out, you get to know them, and then you approached it with that way. That's how I do.
That's your approach.
I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of the examples that we've seen today or seen on the podcast, like Pastor Case, Pastor Zach, they all were like friends first, or they all like did things, or Pastor Taylor sung to Miss Taylor.
So no one in the digital age.
Huh?
No man in the digital age.
Well, I mean, we can do many examples. I'm sure in today's age
But
too.
again, rejecting can be hard. And, I mentioned the
Yeah.
examples of like, women sometimes tend to humiliate, by putting them on blast or putting them to the
But I
board
think
of directors or what have you.
putting on blast, those are more extreme cases. Most women don't do that.
Sure. But because they are the extreme cases, they stand out more. But there are different ways to, I guess, do it ethically because, again, there is an effect on the rejecter too. So, for example, it's hard because when you're the one rejecting, it can be embarrassing where you're like, I'm about to lay down a huge pain on you. How do I do that? You're putting me on the spot in a place where I didn't know I was going to be, or a place I didn't want to be in the first place. So it's like somebody shining a spotlight on you, and then you have to now, put them down. That's kind of humiliating, or not humiliating, but it can be embarrassing where it's like, hey, I don't like you. And, yeah, so there's that.
Well, I mean, that's
have you ever rejected? Okay, here, let me ask you that.
Just say you don't like them
Have
like
you ever
that.
rejected a guy before?
yes.
Okay, how did you do it?
Not saying that.
Wow.
I'm scared.
Wow. I guess we all have a past, huh?
Sheesh.
No, it's all right. It's all right. But it's also like a big responsibility where, like I mentioned, you're responsible for their pain, and you don't know how clear to be, because especially if you're a girl, I feel like women try to get out of there as fast as possible and as safely as possible, because there are some guys who will take it bad and may actually like physically hurt you, and that's not
good.
that's not good. Like, you don't know
Yeah.
how this guy's gonna react,
Especially if it's like-
they're belligerent, and if they're somebody you don't want to be with anyway, and they're stepping out of their, out of the frame with you, the current frame that you have with them. Let's say you're acquaintances, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I like you, and it's like, well, I've seen you, act really weird towards other girls, or like I've seen you act like in violent ways. And now I don't know how to tell you that, like how to get you out of here. So some women give false numbers. Some women give false names.
Yes.
Or just say, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. Then I'll give you an answer.
That's true.
Yeah.
What are some other effects that it can have on the rejector? Because again, rejecting also sucks.
I think an important thing that we need to note is that we need to change to our as the rejector. It's going to be difficult, directly correlated with your relationship with confrontation. If you're a non-confrontational person, you see telling someone I don't like you as a really hard thing. But if you're used to confrontation, that is not going to be as challenging because you're going straight to the point. So that changes the outlook of how you're rejecting.
Yes.
And I also believe that we also need to start normalizing that rejection is not something bad. You're in the sense that expressing how you feel about someone that you don't reciprocate, that is not bad. You are not putting them down. It's not about them. It's about you and how you feel.
Yeah, but,
and
like you said, it's like setting them free.
It's not about them, because if we keep normalizing that language of putting someone down, then that keeps instigating the narrative that
blame.
it's about us.
Yeah.
That it's about the
And
other
it's my
person.
responsibility
that I'm
that
not
have
worth
hurting
it. That
them.
I'm not enough. And it's not about that. It's about expressing how we feel in a direct, respectful way.
Yes.
And making it about the situation, not the person.
Yes.
And the more we get used to expressing our emotions and how we feel and not seeing that as a bad thing, that changes our relationship.
So you're saying like a lot of the guys that you reject, it's not that there was anything wrong with them, you just didn't like them?
Personally, the guys that I've rejected is just we didn't click.
Which
Like
is
in
real
what way?
true.
In what way? You just like...
And just
stuff you can't quantify. It's just a vibe.
in feeling, in the way that we interacted, values. So it was different. Like there are some, like for example, there's one that I just stopped talking to them because they were very disturbing.
Wow.
So
Well, see, but that's something about him, though. That's what I'm saying. So I think a lot of it also...
It also depends on the rejectee, which is like how you have to gauge what your relationship is to them, whether they can take, like how much honesty do you want. So whether it's like, can I be 100% with you, and then know that you're gonna take it, not hold it against me.
Have you rejected anybody, any girl that
Yes.
or do most of the girls you reject?
Multiple
Like it's
times.
weird to say that for guys because I feel like a lot of guys we don't have the most guys don't have the opportunity. But like a lot of the girls that you reject, do you reject because there's things about them that you don't like, or you just
and also how I feel about them. So for example, if I just
there's
don't
no
like
girl
them,
that you've never rejected that you were like, there's nothing wrong with her. Why am I rejecting her, or why don't I like her? Because I feel like I have that.
that's interesting.
I feel there's a lot of girls that I think I did like them. I just
I mean,
pulled the trigger.
that's also a real thing as well. Rejecting something that we want, a lot of the times it's because we don't feel worthy of it.
I guess because I'm hyper aware of who I am and what I want. I feel like it's easy for me to pinpoint exactly why not. It's not a matter of I don't know why I don't. I just don't. So for me, it's pretty easy for me to not tell them why in a way where it's like hurtful, but just in a way where it's not like there is no ambiguity. It can kind of suck, especially with women. I don't know, because you don't want to hurt their hearts. And
You don't want to hurt anybody.
yeah,
You don't want to hurt anyone.
the first time, I remember one time it was at a Culver's, and her and I and another girl had been friends from high school. This was like before West even, and this is from South actually, and I felt so bad because we had just gone out to get ice cream, and she's like, "Hey, I like you," and to be honest, I don't even remember what I said, but I haven't heard from her since. And it really broke my heart because I'm like, I enjoy spending time with you. I don't think of you in that way, period. So it's hard, man. It's hard.
It's hard. It's just learning how to balance expressing how you feel without making it about the person, but rather about how you don't see them in that light.
It's true. And let's kind of segue that into, I guess, what to do. And speaking of that, it reminds me of, I forget which context we learned this in, and just, I guess, enlighten me, but using I statements, or I guess in sharing grievances, using I statements. I feel that.
I mean, that's
blah,
everywhere.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or at least that's where I heard it the first time. Using I statements. So saying, I don't feel that way. I'm not attracted to you. I feel differently, X, Y, and Z. So that, again, it makes it about you and doesn't put the onus on them to do that. Again, I guess it differs on whether or not, again, you can actually, like, you feel like you have the comfort to go deeper and be like if you really, 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 really know them, you can be like, I would, but X, Y, Z, and whatever. Like if you can actually point out things that they can fix, then I think you would mention that. Do you agree or disagree? Again, it depends on the different things. For example, like if a woman says you're a smoker and you drink, if you were to change those things, I think I'd be interested.
See, but that totally changed why the rejection. It's
Still
not. I'm
rejecting.
not. It's yeah, I guess. So it's a different type.
Yeah. So if you actually are interested, or I should say, and there are like fixable, tangible things, I think you can point them out in a nice way, like saying, "Hey, I would be into you if you just didn't smoke."
Yeah. I think you could do
I'm
that.
just not into smokers. Mm-hmm. What are some other ways that we can, I guess, reject in an ethical or good way? So I mentioned I statements. What else?
I mean, that goes along with what I had here, which is communication, communicating your feelings, staying on topic.
Oh, that's
especially
good.
If you don't, because you mentioned if you like, it might be a thing if this and this and this were fixed. But if you don't like the person at all, like,
Don't even go there.
no, you just say, like, I'm not interested. Now, if the person asks why, then you could probably go, depending on on the relationship that you have with that person. But there's no need to elaborate. If just stay on topic, rip the Band-Aid off per se,
Yeah.
and don't make it personal.
Right. And only go as deep as they want, or as they, I guess, seek.
Yeah,
right? So if they say why, and you say, because you're a smoker, and then if they say, well,
I can change.
I can change, and then you're like, well, I don't like that you drink either, or let's say you're just a social smoker. It's like, well, I don't even smoke on, like 90% of the time. It's like, well, I mean, I can just do that 10% or whatever. But Mike, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's important to also not just gloss over what they just said. Actually acknowledge what they said.
Yes.
Because if you just say it, if you just no, or just say a few seconds and then just go back to what you're saying, I feel like that's kind of also disrespectful because it just makes it seem like you didn't care at all.
Yeah.
Which kind of hurts too. And I'm like, dang, they didn't even care about what I said. I must mean nothing to them. That's worse. So I feel like you always try to make it be let's make sure the person knows that you heard them and acknowledge what they said.
So then the perfect formula would be acknowledging.
Yeah, first
what
be
the
like,
person
oh wow,
said.
Yes.
and then
And giving your response in a polite way.
And remember, always say thank you. thanks for, I feel great. I feel like that's
That
awesome.
would be degrading to me.
What? No.
To me, like if they say, "Oh, thank you."
No, not all. Not
that.
that. I'm not saying
No.
thank you. I'm like, just say thanks for the compliment. Wow, thanks. Like, I really appreciate how you feel.
It's not.
I
personally would feel weird about it. I don't know.
No, just say like if they say, I think you're a great person and everything. I think we connect, and you can say, hey, I appreciate those feelings. Like I think you're a great person too. I just don't feel like romantically about you.
I mean, how do you feel about the thank you?
You gotta compliment them back too. Like thanks for saying that, because like, hey, it's not often people are gonna tell you like you feel.
I think it all depends
like they feel
the tone
great
for
about
me,
you.
the tone and how you say it.
Tone and how you
because
say
if
it.
you say it arrogantly, like
Thank you.
like thanks, like I know
I
I'm
feel
hot.
like I feel like somebody's done that to you. That's why you keep going there.
Well, no, because it's not like this is
you.
not. It's not like
I
this
think-
isn't for you. I don't know how to explain. Like if somebody
You're
says,
trying
thank
to
you,
protect
like I'm
their
doing,
dignity.
I think
like I'm
when
doing
you
something.
when you acknowledge it, you have to check your tone and how you're saying it.
Yes,
Because if you
Well,
say
sounds-
it the way you did, that sounds degrading.
yes.
But if you say it from a place of love and friendship, I don't think it will come off in a degrading way.
Just say it to me, for example.
I can't think of you
Just
that way.
Just like muster it up, like pretend.
Okay, just think of some dude in your head and say
Yeah,
it.
I'm Jason.
She ain't gotta look at you. Just say how would you do it.
yeah. Close your eyes and
Yeah,
say
close your
somebody.
So, like for me, I'll be like, "Thank you so much for sharing how you feel."
Okay,
That's
different. Okay, first of all, pause. Thank you for sharing how you feel is different because that's sharing how you feel is one thing. But Michael just says thank you. Thank you for what? Thank you for liking me? That's,
No, I'm just saying like thank them for
Yuck.
what they said about you. Like if they say, hey, I think you're a great person, I think you're funny. I'm like, hey, thanks, like for saying those are nice like things. I appreciate that. Like if someone compliments you, are you not gonna say thank you? You're just gonna be like, well, okay, cool, and then just go on. No, you thank them for the compliment. It's a compliment.
Okay, thank them for the compliments, not for saying that I like you, because that's just weird to me.
No, not for like
Ugh.
that part, but just like thank them, acknowledge like the stuff that they said. I mean, hopefully they said
Okay.
some nice things about
Or
you.
you could
I
just-
think you're like, I think you're very pretty.
Or if you
you
don't-
like, oh, just be like, hey, thanks for saying that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with saying that, but then you just don't like, you don't tell them
Or it
that
could
you
just
like them.
be-
You're just like, hey, but I don't think of you like that way. I'm
It
sorry.
could you could think about it as acknowledging their vulnerability, as acknowledging them,
See, that I'm down
seeing
with.
you as that they saw that they were able to come and talk to you about it. You honor that
Yeah,
by
that's
Yes.
fair. You acknowledge what they said. Don't
by
gloss over it.
acknowledging you honor that vulnerability.
I like that frame. I mean, I think
But you have to make it
tossed
seem
around.
like you appreciate appreciate that first, like the bravery that it takes to do that. Not to just you don't want to like because it takes guts
Well,
to do
that's
it.
that's where your empathy kicks in. Where
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Did we talk about sandwiching the message? So like
Yeah.
using the
Sandwiches?
message, so
it's a
you-
compliment
something
thingy.
harsh or not harsh,
Compliment.
but yeah, compliment.
Just
So-
compliment, rejection, compliment.
Yes. So in that format, you would be like Abby said, "Hey, thank you for being so vulnerable with me. I appreciate that you had the courage to do that. Not many people would do that, and I appreciate that you had that. Unfortunately, I don't think
And then say, okay, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
Unfortunately, I'm not interested in correct, or I guess you could say like, I don't think I feel the same way, and I'm not sure I will.
Don't say that. Just
That's
say,
weird.
Just
Well,
say,
I
just
mean,
say
I
you
don't know. I
don't
guess
feel.
I just want to close
I mean,
it off
it's at-
forever.
No, don't close it off forever.
But I mean,
No.
I'm ad libbing. But you see what I'm
just
saying.
say I don't think of you that way.
Okay.
Saying like I don't think I ever will. That's
Fair,
harsh.
fair.
And
Don't
I
do
don't
that.
think you should say I don't think of you that way.
We're never going.
I
to
think
work.
there's a nicer
No.
way of saying that where it's keep going. I'll think about the nice. I'll think of the nice way.
Okay,
of
here,
saying
here. I'll start over. So, I guess let's all try to reject someone.
Here.
Just like off the
Here,
cuff.
Jose, I'll tell you that I like you and you reject me.
Okay,
Can we do this without getting canceled?
okay. Go.
Or just do
I'm
it
gonna
to me.
pretend you're a girl named Margaret.
Michelle.
You're okay, Michelle.
Michaela.
Why is there need to
Michaela.
pretend there is a woman here?
Well, you're a sister.
Nigga, you
so it's
couldn't
kind
look at me and do the same thing, and here you are. There is a woman here.
know.
Come on, dog.
do it to.
Maybe it's easier for you.
Okay, present yourself to
No,
me.
let me
and then I
let
reject.
me do it. It's
okay,
funny.
okay, Michael.
It's funny.
Okay, let's,
Okay.
okay, go.
Josue,
This is Michelle.
we've been spending a lot of time together. I think you're a really great person. I think you're handsome. I think I like you. I want to see where this goes. How do you feel?
Okay, let me get past the
not the
laughter.
correct response.
Let me get past the laughter of Michael's tone. I'd be like, I have a good time with you too. And though I don't think that I would want to see something like that in the future, that is to say, I don't really foresee us in a relationship because I'm not into it like that. I would like to continue a friendship with you and continue doing more adventures like that, if that interests you. Though I do understand that if you if that causes some hurt with you, or you need to distance yourself, I completely understand. Just know that for me, the friendship hasn't changed, and though I don't want to pursue it in that direction, I'd still want to do stuff together.
Okay, I like how you ended it. The other stuff, I don't think you needed to say so much.
The little
I
middle.
disagree. That was
Well,
gold.
no, because I think
It
you
was gold
explained a
for
little
him.
too much.
That was
to me.
absolutely gold.
Okay, here,
Did you see the sandwich? Did you see the sandwich?
Well, no, because
Yeah,
you didn't
but
really
in the
acknowledge.
middle,
You
it was a little iffy.
you didn't really acknowledge that cause you kind of just. I felt like you just kind of went straight to here. Let's roll reverse. Okay.
Roll reverse.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how a girl would do it, honestly.
Just say something. I
Doctor,
don't care.
please
Okay.
step in.
Nah, it's gonna be too hard. Yeah, I want you to do it.
Okay.
'Cause I feel
Do it like the girl at Culver's did it.
honestly, it's been so long, I don't remember.
Just
that
say something, man. Just-
All right. I'll be like, hey, Mike. I feel like we've spent a lot of good time together, and I feel like this is something that I'd want to take to the next step. And by next step, I mean a relationship. How do you feel about that?
You don't think I'm pretty or nothing like that? I don't know how I feel about this.
So okay,
Mike's one, give it more.
That's all you're gonna
Sure.
bring.
So that's interesting because how I approach things, or how I would show interest, I don't try to qualify it by something that they have. I personally don't do that. I don't say it's because you're pretty. I don't say it's because you're pretty, smart, blah blah blah. It's like that is just kind of assumed because that's why we're in a friendship to begin with.
Oh, see, I'd be like, hey man,
You
you're
just
smart.
admitted you're in a friendship because you're pretty. You're friends with
Okay,
girls
okay.
because
You
they're
know what I
pretty.
mean?
Okay,
That's funny.
anyway, let me reject them now. Hold
This
on.
is how a girl would do it. Ready,
Let me
Michael?
reject
Okay,
them.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike, I've known you forever, and you're my brother's friend. And I've never really seen you this way, but the more we've gotten together in this podcast, I've gotten to know you better, and I really like how you're sensitive, and you respect women, and you're buff. And I've noticed that my feelings have started to change for you, and I want to know where this goes, if you feel the same, if you want to explore that with me.
Yes.
That was clean.
Like you said, yes.
I was like, that was so nice.
That was
Now reject me.
All right, you guys, we got to end the episode. No,
okay. We gotta cut that. No, I'm kidding.
no, I keep that.
Okay, Mike, put up.
I don't know what to say. No. Smyrna. I think. Well, first of all, thanks. Oh shit, man, I don't even know what to say. Okay.
See, it's weird.
like,
No,
you-
well, okay, no.
You're putting people on the spot. It's not comfortable.
I know. Well, first, okay, let me just do it. Hey, Smyrna. Thanks for saying all those things. Like, I really appreciate that. I'm glad you see me that way. I hope people see me that way, so I'm glad that you do. However, I really like our friendship, and I don't think also your brother wants me to date you anyway. So I just I want us to maintain the friendship, for at least right now. That's what I would say.
Okay.
And then I would be like, but I also think you're great too. Okay. Maybe I didn't reject too hard. Maybe that was too soft. Maybe she's like, "Oh, there's hope," but I don't know. I feel like that way.
Well, I mean, you qualified it by saying that I wouldn't want you to.
I know. I was kind of just messing
Put
around.
the blame,
no, yeah,
you
you
put
were
the blame on
ad-libbing.
him.
Well, I mean, that's easy, right? It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice clean.
I
way.
wouldn't in real life. I would not say that.
No, right.
I
but
wouldn't.
this is just ad
We
lib.
were just messing around.
Okay.
I think a lot of the times we think about it too much as to how we would respond. Like, for example, Mike, your initial reaction was, "That's really nice." Like, you can literally start off.
I was
with, like,
holding my heart.
I felt like, thank you for sharing that. Like,
Yeah.
like that's how you feel. We don't have to think so much about the words.
Yeah. Well, like, and exactly, like I said, like, I'm glad that you see me that way. Like, that's awesome. Like, thank you a lot. Like, I really appreciate that you
Yeah.
said that. That made me feel better about myself. It made me, like, want to, like, even though I don't like you, I still want to be friends. Man, who the heck knows? I never say never, like Justin Bieber, because you never know what the future is going to bring. But, in the moment, it could be for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Like, you never want to burn a bridge because, man, like, what if she like starts going to the gym? Like, she gets like, man, she gets curvy and everything. Like, or she does something, she's famous all of a sudden. Don't burn the
You
bridge.
don't want her to write a song about you.
Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to become like Taylor Swift exes.
Doc, did we do you already? How you would reject?
How no.
Okay. Oh
God.
Okay. How would? I don't know how to present this. Okay. So how I would be to a girl would be like, it's like, hey Matilda, I've been thinking about this. I feel like we spent a lot of good time together, and I've been hurt feelings. This is something that I'd like to pursue further, because you're somebody I admire, and the more and more I get to know you, I admire you even more, and I'd like to pursue those feelings into a relationship. What do you think about that?
Well, I really admire you too, and I value our friendship. And I'm really glad that you felt safe enough to share those feelings with me. At this time, I currently don't feel the same way. Yet, I see you, like I said, firstly, I see you as a very important person in my life. And if you are willing and able to at this time, I'd like to continue our friendship.
Cool.
Something like
Okay, see now, but here's the thing.
See, now
what
that
if you're
sounds-
not friends with this person? What if they're
Okay,
just like,
okay.
Well, the way he said he mentioned friendship.
Matilda, yeah, I mentioned it.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
Well, what if y'all like just been like acquaintances? Like you've gone out maybe once or twice.
Okay,
but
okay,
you're not really
if,
like
if, if
friends.
we're acquaintances.
Okay, let me try here. Okay, so let's say I just met Matilda, whatever. It's like, hey, Matilda, you look like a great person. Let me take you out on a date. You seem like you'd be a great person to,
You look like a great
hang out
person.
with, and, and somebody I probably should get to know. Let's go on a date. What do you think?
Thank you so much for the invitation. You seem like a really great person as well. At this time,
Wow. No, I'm kidding.
at this time, I am not interested, but maybe in the future, if I like you.
don't say
well,
that.
if I like you for acquaintances,
Yeah.
maybe in the future,
Okay.
you said not to burn a bridge.
Right.
All right, I guess so. Yeah.
Or a nicer way that I could finish that off is
But I feel like if you say maybe in the future, because a lot of guys, we're dogs.
or I mean, I guess I don't know how to
No, but I
off
mean,
the top of-
I took it the right way.
well, I know, but I'm just saying like a lot of guys we're dogs.
I see what
They'll
you're
take
saying.
that as like, oh, well,
Try
let me
harder.
try it
Yeah.
next week.
Oh, that's true. That's
Oh,
true.
good
Yeah,
call.
yeah. So maybe when it comes to acquaintances, maybe I wouldn't know off the top of my head right now how to finish it off because we're just acquaintances.
Right. Hey, or how about like, hey, if that changes in the future, I'll let you know.
Yes. There you go.
But also, the energy that I brought, you didn't match. So like, I brought like a fun, playful energy. You kind of brought it down to like super technical. I feel like maybe we should meet that energy. I don't know.
Like if they're
Like,
like, hey,
I
let's
would
go
reject-
out, and you're like, no.
No. Like if I ask casually, like Matilda, hey Matilda, let's go on a date. Hey, thank you so much for asking. Blah blah blah. Blah. It's I don't. That's,
well, yeah. I guess. I mean,
you see what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's just again, we're sitting here trying to plan how to do it. It's not like
Well, it's
gonna
good
be
to
like in the
actually
wild.
think about it, especially if you know someone likes you and they're potentially going to.
And
you
if
should
someone-
probably role play and go
and
over
if
it in your
someone
head so you don't like
asks you-
make it
That's fair.
awkward
Good call.
and
and
hurt
if
them.
someone asks you in a playful way, you
think-
could literally just say no.
Yeah. But do you agree about the playful energy, like meet the energy that they come at you with?
I feel, yeah, it could be in certain scenarios,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
But I feel like also if it's in certain scenarios, you don't even need a sandwich.
Because like, yeah, that's true.
That's what I feel like, because I think the less you know someone, like,
you
So
It-
like if I come
yeah,
off as playful, like on a date, like I'm expecting that kind of energy. Whereas if I come off as like serious, like this is a girl I know and I'm making it serious, and she comes up with like a super playful like, no, thank you, and then just kind of continues. It's like a
Yeah, I mean, you still should protect the dignity of the person, but I feel like that person, you know, if they're like completely just distraught by how, I mean, I think at the very worst, they could maybe think like, oh, well, she was kind of a jerk for the way she said that.
And
But
it also
they
depends.
don't know you that well. So,
And it also depends because someone may ask you out in a playful way because we use humor sometimes to cover up vulnerability.
that's true.
So you're being vulnerable regardless whether you're saying it in a fun way or whatever. I can't read that intention because that's in your mind. So
But tone, you're saying tone is not enough, right?
so
Correct.
I
Yeah.
think the safe default is honoring that person. So it would be less playful because you don't know what's going inside. Because I could have used humor to ask you out,
Yeah.
but then you could have used humor to say something back, and then I would have felt worse
Wow,
because you would have been mocking me or
Wow,
in some
yeah.
way. So
Dang,
I
that's
think
real.
the default is more of just holding that space, even though it might sound a little serious.
Whew. That sucks. Yeah. So then how do we deal with rejection, right?
we just went through all that.
all that.
So how do we deal with it?
How do we deal with it? Now, the working title for this episode was Friend Zones, No-Fly Zones, and Ghosting. And we decided to put friend zones in an entirely different episode just because there's too much to go over there. But the no-fly zones part, I want to talk about things that are absolute no-nos when you do get rejected. And one of the no-fly zones or things that you shouldn't absolutely think at all, whether you're a man or a woman, is thinking that you're not worthy of love. Don't fly in that area. Don't let your mind wander in thinking I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough. Even if they give you a reason, that's the best possible option. But if they did not give you a reason,
I feel like you don't
she
want a
did
reason.
not give me a reason, even though she had agreed to it, but then ghosted me later, it's like, oh crap. Now, I shouldn't have let my mind wander, and I did for some time, but then I circled back. Now, we shouldn't again think that we're not worthy of love, and because then we start to like project that to other areas of our lives where maybe I'm not good enough at work, maybe I'm not good enough as a brother or X, Y, and Z. Thoughts?
I think going off of what you just said, it's redefining rejection, not seeing it as something that's lacking in you, and that's not letting like the ants or the automatic negative thoughts win because those are automatic. I'm not worthy. I'm
Oh,
not
that's
enough.
interesting. Ants. Automatic negative thoughts.
So
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I heard it from Dr. Daniel Amen. But it's not easy. It's not easy because they're automatic and they're usually negative.
Wow.
And then we usually ruminate. But that's why we need to stop them in their tracks and have that redefinition of that's usually what they call them is affirmations is a certain term people use or
You can use Bible verses.
Bible
of what God
verses,
thinks of you
yep.
as affirmations.
so that's one way to combat those fly zones, no fly zones that are kind of just automatic.
My mom, she always would tell me like, don't worry about it. She wasn't your girl anyway. It's not like she was your girl, But I mean, that's kind of like, you can think of it. But I mean, there's kind of some truth to that because like, you don't know what reason the person has for not dating you. They could have
If
already
it didn't give you one.
yeah, they could have already been dating someone else. They could have just gotten out of a relationship. They very well could not have liked you, but there could be many reasons. So it's like, don't always take it like
Don't take
personally.
the worst possible
Yeah,
option.
just be
Yeah.
like, okay, they didn't like you. There could be a
Exactly
million
why
reasons.
it's a no-fly
And
zone
then
now.
you could also, you never know. Like maybe she was just very shy. Maybe she was just like taken back.
Yeah.
Because I know some people that they had to ask their girlfriend out like 3-4 times for them to finally say yes.
Wow. I think another no-fly zone is deciding to hurt yourself and others. That's a thing that we can get to. And I've heard not as in me, but I've personally heard stories of people who have hurt themselves because they were rejected by someone who they thought they loved. and it was just a whole lot of infatuation.
Yeah.
And by hurt, I do mean like physically harming yourself,
Self-harm.
but I also do mean like neglecting yourself. And a form of that could be like overeating or not taking care of
Not doing your daily ADLs.
which is
Daily activities of daily living.
activities of daily living.
Showering, brushing your teeth,
Yeah.
sleeping.
That's definitely a no-fly zone, along with obviously hurting others. If somebody has rejected you, and let's say they did it in the worst possible way, they put a billboard with your DM and your picture saying, "This guy is a pig. I would never want to date him. Look at how bad he is." That's not a license to then go ahead and want to hurt her as much as you would want to do that.
You see? And when people do that, they don't realize you're no better than them then.
Right.
Because if you're going to like do exactly what they did or even worse, then you're no better. Just don't be complaining. You're just like them.
Right.
So you deserve what you got. I have no sympathy for you after that point. Always take the high road. Jesus tells us, he teaches us, someone smacks you, turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek, right?
Yeah.
Always like treat people better than they deserve.
And that's
what Jesus. It's not easy to do,
No, it's not.
but Jesus says if you do it, you make them feel. What he said, put
Well, the Holy
coals on their
Spirit
head.
will- yeah.
Well, you said you put coals on their
that's
head.
true. Yeah, good
And
point.
so they start to feel like they're a real bad person because you're just treating them great. You're just treating them with love. You know, you haven't shown any, even though it was clear that they were in the wrong.
Yeah.
Then they start to, think about it. And then eventually, hopefully, it leads them to turn their life around.
Right. And if you do feel really angry where you have to get your anger out somewhere, there are anger rooms where you can take your anger out. If you box. If you need to go and smash a TV, go somewhere and smash a TV. There's like actual places where you suit up in like,
Destroy stuff.
Jumpsuits, and you just destroy stuff for 10, 20, 30 minutes and you get it out. Because sometimes you just need
Go
to
to the
that.
gym, bro.
That too.
You're
That's
just
funny
wasting your time. Go to the
like
gym.
the default thing on the internet, which I mean, it's a good response. Like if she rejected you or she slept with your ex or whatever, in the comments, all you see is
See you in the
Monday.
gym. They're like, see you in the gym, bro.
Yes.
Or like the gym is your friend or something like that.
Yeah. It's like Monday, upper arms. Tuesday.
Oh my goodness.
So they don't even say
They
anything.
don't even say anything about it. They're just like, they give you like a gym routine.
Yeah,
gym plan.
exactly. Or
That's
it's
funny.
like it's like, hey, we'll see you in the gym tomorrow or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's this story that my mom told me about this person who was really depressed.
Yeah.
And they went to the doctor and they're like, hey, I'm really depressed. I can't do anything in my life. And all he literally prescribed him, he's like, go to your park in front of your house and start walking and do it until you can't anymore. And this guy in the story, he was walking and transitioned to running, and he ran until he was like dead.
Dang,
And like at the end of it, he wasn't depressed anymore.
Just get it out.
yeah.
I mean, exercise is a great
Yeah, it's a great release.
it's a great release.
Throw around some heavy weights when you're angry.
Yeah.
Be maxing out
And then
PRs.
that's another thing where in those videos, or like the opposite of those videos, if you see a guy like super buff or something like that in the comments, you'd be like, who hurt him?
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
Who, like, what was her name or something like that.
Yeah.
And then something that's done comically is they put the gif of the National Suicide Hotline. So, it's kind of like a joke where if like you see like a guy, or it's usually like a woman loving on a guy, and then in the comments you see like a lot of like sad faces, like, dang, I wish I had a girl like that or something like that. Guys sometimes put the Suicide National Hotline number on there.
Wow.
Oh,
But as a joke, but
yeah, that's not really
apart from a
but
joke,
yeah.
that's actually a real thing that
Yeah,
you should
people
pursue.
kill themselves over rejection. Like literally,
yeah.
there was a story.
Don't fly there, bro. Don't do it.
It's a suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like there was a story of a guy. I think I might have said it. He met this chick online, and they were talking for a while. And then she lived in a different country, and so they planned to see each other. So he flew to go and see her. I think it was in England. And like when he got there, he called her up. He was like, "Hey, I'm here." And she was like, "Oh, you actually came?" And he was like, "Yeah, like what do you mean?" And she was like, "Well, I didn't think you were actually serious. I'm married with kids."
Wow.
And he was like,
No.
"What?" And she was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
like
no.
we can't do this." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And the dude, he had such a big heartbreak. He literally sat in the airport for a week, didn't drink, didn't eat. He had to get paramedics to come in there and take him out to the hospital.
Ouch.
He was that devastated.
Life is hard.
Can't trifle with hearts, man. God talks about that. Don't do it,
Yeah.
people. That is God. God will get you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think something important to acknowledge is that you're calling them no-fly zones. Like you go there because you want to. A lot of the times, these are just emotions that come up that you can't control, especially like suicidal thoughts or self-harm. A lot of times, they just come up and you're in the throes of it and you just do it without thinking. So it's not like people just want to do this, although some do it intentionally with the thought of doing it because it's a coping mechanism at this point.
Yes.
But rather, I think it's important that we learn how to acknowledge our emotions, like kind of like clouds, like acknowledge the thought, but then let it float away.
Yes.
And seek help if you are having those thoughts of self-harm. Seek help if you are having trouble fulfilling your activities of daily living, because that is real. And depending on the level of rejection that you experience, depends how you are going to experience all these thoughts. So if it's a grieving process, kind of like we talked in the beginning, there's stages, and in some stages you're lower, in some stages you are struggling with that stuff, and it's more of just coming up with a plan on how to deal with it when it happens.
It's true. I think the last no-fly zone that at least I want to talk about, and feel free to present another one if you have it, is that we should not bundle all men or all women into a box and say all women are the same or all men are the same.
Yeah.
You cannot do that, because then you start creating communities that are, for example, in the manosphere or in the guy space. There's a thing called red pill, where all women are terrible, all women are bad. They just want your money. They just want to suck the life out of you, and there's nothing redeeming about women, and that's not where we want to be.
I mean, it's hard to, I want to empathize with people because, I mean, there's a lot of guys and a lot of girls who have only had bad experiences with, men or women.
Time and time
Yeah.
again.
So, like, how do you tell them, like you can't just tell them, like, well,
Don't do it.
but it's just like,
very easy to say.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's important to, like, always be that person, that positive person in someone's life, regardless if they like you. Always, like, respect them. But I mean, if you're that person who's
It's a lifestyle.
if you're that person who's only had bad experiences, like even starting with your dad, your siblings, and then like people you've tried to go in relationships with, like, how do you, as a person, not let yourself go there?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I think it's in order to effectively do this, it's a lifestyle. You have to apply it in every part of your life, where you're not assuming things about people, you're not taking things on a personal level. And if you do that in every part of your life, when you face rejection, it would be easier to redefine it, and also just to not group all men and women are the same,
Right.
because you don't do that in any other aspect of your life. You acknowledge the problem as is, but you're not grouping everybody to it.
I mean, like, if I had a friend who came to me about that, and I ain't no psychologist, I ain't no, like, person or anything like that, I would, first of all, like, try to say, like, well, I'm not even sure what I would say. I had it in my head, and then it just flew away.
Well, while you think
happens.
of it, let's talk about how we overcoming this. And one idea I had was start developing good experiences with members of the opposite sex, so that you don't, I guess, fall into that no-fly zone of bundling all men or all women are the same. But
What if they're treating you all bad? Like, You can try as hard as you
then
can.
maybe
but,
you need to look internally because it's never going to be all.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, I'm not saying, but like up to a certain point, like up to this point in your life, that's the experiences you've had.
I see what you're saying.
So then, like, how do you like have enough strength and like bravery to go and try
my second
again?
point, which is like anchoring our identity in Christ.
Yeah.
Where rejection, again, it's about we look inward and we're like, oh man, where's that void? Where do I need to go? But if we anchor our identity in Christ, we are not floating around in the voids and flying into no-fly zones. And the more that we're anchored in Christ, you know, we may be able to sway, but we're not straying far. You know what I'm saying? Because sin is still in the world, but the more that we anchor our identity in Christ, the better that we can be able to handle rejection.
I would say overcoming rejection has a lot to do with kind of what you were saying, our inner self. You can start overcoming rejection even by the way you speak to yourself.
So self-rejection.
Self-rejection and anchoring your value on where it pertains, because that's where rejection hurts the most, since we internalize it on our value. So if we know where our value comes from, which is from God, and we anchor it there, when we face rejection, our value is not going to be shaken. Yeah, it might hurt because it might trigger that part of our brain, like in that study, but it won't be shaken because you have that foundation, and that's a lot of internal stuff.
Understood. Any other ways we can bring God into this?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, like God, you know, He always says, like going. This kind of ties with what we were talking about earlier. With like, you know, you said there's like it's never going to be always, and that is technically true. You know, and that is true because we know God does have His people. There are people who love God and who will not treat you that way. But I would say, you know, like don't feel like you owe anything to anyone, right? Don't feel like you have to stick around and prove something. You know, that you are good enough, like that you are cool enough, or that you can fit in with the crowd, or whatever. Like you don't owe anybody, like, or anybody anything. Like sometimes, like you have to change your scenery, like. Go to a different place, go to a different job, you know, go to a different state, whatever the case may be, you know, like, you know, but, you know, like I said, you know, you said earlier, you know, anchoring your identity in Christ, you know, ask God to send you people, ask God to bring you to a place where there are someone, because I prayed that prayer. I prayed that exact same prayer.
Wow.
That's how I met my friend Baerstone. I was in a unit. They're good guys, but couldn't really connect with them as a Christian, you know, because they were doing stuff. I wasn't doing those things. So I asked God, like, God, before we're going to train tomorrow, give me someone to talk to you about, you know, bring me in other words, bring me another Christian that I can like, you know, communicate with and relate with. And the very first person I talked to asked me about my faith in Christ. Wow. Like God will do that for you. So that's like from my experience. So like pray that prayer. Don't feel like you owe anybody anything.
Yeah, I think going off of the anchoring thing is always keeping in your mind and the promises of God. Like the Psalms, I'm reading the book of Psalms, and it's in the lesson too. Psalms 138, the last verse, it says, God will fulfill the promises He has for my life. So if we always have that in our mind, whenever rejection comes, that's one way that we can redefine whatever rejection. Like, yes, this didn't happen, but God will fulfill the promises that He has for my life, and this wasn't it because it didn't go through. And that's how we redefine with God. The world preaches the same message. They just take Jesus out of it. And I think as Adventists, Jesus is our secret sauce. Yeah. Jesus is the one that gives us power. And Amen. He's the one that has all these promises. Like, I was on the way to work today because I went into work today, believe it or not.
Didn't see that one coming.
And I was listening to Pandora because I like Pandora.
How did you get to work?
Driving. Anyway, this song I really like. It's called "Strong Enough to Save" by 10th Avenue North. Came on.
Oh, I love that song.
I know, it's great.
Yeah.
And anyway, there's this verse that says, "The one the winds and waves obey is strong enough to save," and it just stuck with me. And right away, the promise of
I've never actually thought about the lyrics like that.
Yeah, like if you, like that's why I love that song, because it's literally saying
It
he's
puts it
strong
in
enough.
context.
Yeah, and so right after hearing that, like that part, that lyric stuck with me, and then right away the promise of God where it says, "Let not your heart be troubled," and I'm like, God, no wonder you say, "Let not your heart be troubled." Like the wind and the waves obey you. Like there is nothing in my life right now that you don't have control over. So it's like keeping those promises and God's power in our forefront. I'm like, God, like help me, help us, like keep those in the forefront, because it's when we forget that we start doubting. It's when we forget that we start withdrawing. It's when we forget that we have those more automatic negative thoughts.
Wow.
So it's like that constant keeping it forefront, like, eyes up, right? So I just think that God is a secret sauce to help us redefine rejection that can become a blessing, because he thinks he makes all things work together for good.
Amen.
Amen.
Sweet. Let's wrap this up, shall we? Zach, do you mind praying for us?
Yep. Father in heaven, Lord Jesus, thank you so much for being here with us in this discussion on rejection. Father, Lord, we know that rejection is a part of life, but we also know, Lord, that you are stronger than any rejection that we face. And Lord, you have filled your word with so many promises, promising us something so much greater. So Lord, help us look to you in all aspects of our life, and especially when we face times of trouble and rejection, so that we can redefine our thoughts to what you say and keep moving forward and be a blessing to others. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.